Marifa.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So let us now discuss about Sharia governance. Sharia governance is very important because you see, at the end of the day, when the investor is investing in a Sukuk, it is investing based on the Sharia approvals which have been given by the Sharia scholars, thinking that the instrument would be Sharia compliant. So there is a big onus and responsibility on the Sharia scholars in terms of providing an approval on a Sukuk, because based on their approval, there will be investors who would come and invest in the Sukuk. So from a Sharia governance perspective, the governance works at various levels. So there is the one level of governance which is at an institutional level. If financial institution, Islamic financial institution wants to invest in a Sukuk, so the Sharia board of that financial institution governs whether it is okay to invest in a particular Sukuk. The another important Sharia governance feature is coming from a body called as Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institution. This is a Bahrain-based non-profit organization established in 1991. Now this body's main function is to issue Sharia standards. Now these Sharia standards are used to develop Islamic products and services which are used by the Islamic banking at large. Now it has issued till now around 94 Sharia standards, along with the accounting and governance standards as well. Now these Sharia standards, so AAOIFI signs up a lot of central banks as its members and a lot of financial institutions also as members. These countries, or that's almost 45 countries, have signed up with AAOIFI as being members, and which includes a lot of central banks, financial institutions, auditing firms and legal firms. Now when these central banks sign up with the AAOIFI, they make it a requirement that any Islamic financial institution which is licensed by them in their geography should comply with AAOIFI standards. So it becomes an important requirement for Islamic financial institutions to comply with AAOIFI standards. So most of the countries, especially in the Middle East, have an obligation to see to it that their Islamic finance products and services are in line with AAOIFI Sharia standards. There is another body which is called as IFSB. Now this body is basically in Malaysia, and they provide the governance standards for Islamic finance industry. So these two bodies are very important bodies who set up the standards, which facilitates Islamic banking and finance. Apart from that, it is also, as I was saying, that these standards from a Sharia perspective are covering various aspects, and they have come up with, for example, a specific standard in relation to Sukuk recently, and these standards, which is called as Standard 62, and this standard has covered the governance process, covered basically the detailed standards with regards to how Sukuks can be issued. And this Standard 62 is important for the Islamic finance industry with reference to Sukuk, because this has gone into quite minute detail, analyzing the various forms of Sukuks, various structures of Sukuks, what is permissible, what is impermissible, and the major emphasis of this standard was on trying to exhibit the true spirit. There is a statement given with regards to a contractual principle, meaning to say, for example, what the standard is emphasizing is that if you are saying that an asset has been sold, right, from a person A to person B, then the asset needs to truly reflect as if that it has gone from person's A ownership to a person's B ownership. The main emphasis of the standard has been on 2-3 points, and one important point was with regards to sale of assets. So in Sukuk, when the assets are being sold from the obligor to the SPV, the requirements which are being emphasized is that the ownership needs to transfer, the title needs to transfer from the obligor to the SPV, so that there is an impact that a true sale has happened. So this is their emphasis, and I feel this requirement more or less is to show that there is a sale happening in its true sense. Otherwise, if on one hand we are saying the sale has happened, right, and then we are saying though the sale has happened, but the purchaser practically will not have the access to the assets, or the new purchaser will not be entitled to sell that asset to any third party, right? So on and so forth. So this emphasis on the ownership transfer is something which has in a way put the industry to think about what are the other alternatives to come up with which reflect the true nature of a sale transaction, right? So I feel, of course, the standard has nudged and created the still waters of the Islamic finance industry, so that people think what could be done so that the governance process goes in the right direction. As I said, it is very important for the industry to prosper, to grow, but at the same time, the prosperity cannot be coming at an approach where there is a difference between what we say and what we do. So at the end of the day, the trust which the investors, or to a greater extent the world, has towards Islamic finance needs to be very cautiously protected, and there's a big responsibility in terms of how this trust should be upheld with a lot of integrity and a lot of sincerity. And I feel that's the reason why collectively, as all the stakeholders, should work towards to come up with a solution which at the end of the day addresses all the concerns of all the parties. And in that way, I feel the Sharia governance plays a very important role, and the requirements of the Sharia needs to be fulfilled in a very effective and efficient way.
Marifa.